Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good afternoon, dear students. Today we are back with another lecture, and in this lecture we're going to talk about chapter 9, which is called as diversity in plants. In this lecture we're going to learn about how plant grow through seed, how plant absorb water and minerals, how plant exchange gases, or how plants adapt according to the environmental condition. So without wasting any time, let's jump into the lecture. The first thing first, you need to understand about the basic difference between nutrient and nutrition. Nutrients are the substances and the elements which are required to the plant for the growth and metabolism, whereas the nutrition is the process of obtaining food. And keep in mind that we have also revised in the first chapter that all the living organisms have the characteristics of Mrs. Gren, and in living organism, basically, there are the three categories are involved. One is named as plants, one is called as animals, and one is called as humans. So all of them having the characteristics of Mrs. Gren. So the people who know what is Mrs. Gren, they must be happier, and the people who don't know, they need to revise from the first chapter that what is the meaning of Mrs. Gren. Either it's a girl or a boy or any characteristics. So what is Mrs. Gren? So please Google it if you don't remember it, or go to the first chapter and have a look what is Mrs. Gren. So without let's talk to the main topic about the diversity in plants. The first thing we need to revise about the nutrient. As we already talked about, the nutrients are the elements which are required to the plant for the plant growth and metabolism. So nutrients also needed for the process of photosynthesis. Nutrients also needed for the growth, and plants absorb nutrients through the soil by different processes, either by the osmosis, either by the active transport, or either by the diffusion. So let's have a look. We're going to categorize these nutrients into two types. One is called as a macronutrient and one is called as micronutrient. When we're going to say macro, as the word indicates, macro means large and micro means small. When we're going to say large and small, we're going to define it as the nutrients which are required in the larger quantity is called as macronutrients, and when we're going to say the nutrients which are required in the smaller quantity are considered as micronutrients. Another difference we can quote is basically that they having the higher molecular weight, and for the micronutrients they having the lower molecular weight. The third difference we're going to quote is the example, and we have memorized the mnemonic of this as well, which is called as NCA CHOP. NCA CHOP stands for N for nitrogen, Ca for calcium, C for carbon, H for hydrogen, O for oxygen, and P for phosphorus. So the mnemonic that you need to memorize is NCA CHOP. And micronutrients, please keep recalling yourself and keep recall yourself. What was the key of this? BCMZ, or what was that? I need you, or I want you to recall and revise, and do let me know. So the other thing that you must need to memorize from this topic is basically the roles. What is the function or what is the role of these nutrients? So nitrogen, if you're going to recall, nitrogen is used for the protein synthesis, oxygen is used for the exchange of gases, phosphorus is also used for the plant growth, and sulfur is also used for the synthesis of amino acid. There is another macronutrient which is important, which is called as Mg. Plant are green in color, and that green color is because of the chlorophyll pigment, and that chlorophyll is synthesized by a macronutrient which is called as magnesium. So as I said, so that you need to memorize their role. So nitrogen, as I said, is involved for the protein synthesis, phosphorus is involved in the DNA formation, potassium is involved in the enzyme activation, calcium is involved in the stability of the cell wall or the structure and stability of the cell wall, magnesium is involved in the synthesis of chlorophyll, and sulfur is involved in the formation or the synthesis of amino acid. When we're going to talk about the micronutrients, they are also having the different role. For example, if we're going to talk about the iron is also involved for the chlorophyll formation. So let me clear the screen and let me write it down for you guys. So now it's clear to you. So these are all the functions that have been written, that what are the different micronutrients and what are their roles in the plant's life. So let's jump to the next topic, which is basically water uptake in plants. How plant absorb water and minerals. When we talk about plant absorption, firstly we have to look about the plant's organ. This one is called as leaves, stem, roots, and the small hair-like extension on the root is called as root hairs. When we talk about the root hairs, these help to absorb large quantity of mineral nutrients like water and mineral. Plant absorb water through a process called as osmosis. Always remember, we're going to recall it over here. There are the two types of transport. One is called as active transport and one is called as passive transport. When we talk about the passive transport, there the further two pathways are involved. One is called as diffusion and one is called as osmosis. The major difference, and this is basically comes in the category of passive transport. Osmosis is used for the solvents, or like we're going to say the movement of particles from higher water potential to lower water potential through selective permeable membrane. But when we talk about the mineral nutrients in the case of passive transport, and we're going to define the diffusion, we're going to say the movement of particles from high to low concentration. We're going to quote an example of perfume. If you are standing in a room in a corner and you apply the perfume, the concentration of perfume is higher over there, whereas on the same another corner of that room, the concentration of perfume is lower, and that transport is basically diffusion. So the particles move from high to low. But in case of water, we're going to say the water moves from high water potential. Or we're going to also define osmosis on the basis of solute. When we define osmosis on the basis of solute, we're going to say that movement of particles from low solute concentration to higher solute concentration through selective permeable membrane. So you have an idea about what is a solution and what is solute and what is solvent. I hope there is no need to memorize that as well. So if you really need that, please do let me know, that I'm going to revise it for you. Okay, so we have learned that the plant absorb water through root hair by a process called as osmosis, and plant absorb mineral nutrients through a process called as diffusion or active transport. When I talk about the diffusion, it means that if the soil is having rich in nutrients, or if the soil is rich in nutrients, that means if the soil is having large quantity of nutrients. But if there are low quantity of nutrient in the soil, but these nutrients is definitely required to the plant for their growth and metabolism, plant get these nutrients through a process called as active transport. Because active transport is against the concentration gradient, it means the particles move from low concentration to high concentration through active transport. But when we talk about the diffusion, we're going to say the particles move from high concentration to low concentration. It means it is down the concentration gradient. One is against the concentration gradient and one is down the concentration gradient. So the next most important topic about from this chapter is water takes three pathways through plant root. Like as I said, the water moves or water is absorbed by the plant through osmosis, but there are the three pathways are involved to absorb the water. One is called as apoplast pathway, which is the fastest one. One is called as symplast pathway, and one is called as vacuolar pathway. And from this pathway, or from their names, we're going to revise their definition and we're going to recall their terms. Apoplast is the pathway in which water moves through cell wall and intercellular spaces. For example, this is plant cell wall and water moves, and this is basically the cell membrane. So the plant will move through the cell wall from this portion, like from this area. The water moves to the cell wall. In the symplast pathway, and in the cell, the cytoplasm is present. In all the cell, the solution is called as the cytoplasm. So the plants move through the cytoplasm and through plasmodesmata. Plasmodesmata is basically the small pores. Here is the small pores at the ending of each cell. So plant water move through the plasmodesmata connection. In the vacuolar pathway, the water does not move through the cell wall, water does not move through the cytoplasm, water moves through the vacuole, because plant contain a large vacuole, and you already know that the function of the vacuole is to store water and food. So this is the diagrammatically, we're going to say that this is the diagrammatic presentation of this apoplast pathway. And keep in mind that they're going to ask that what is Casparian strip, or what are the Casparian strip, or what is the role of Casparian strip in the apoplast pathway. Keep in mind that what is the role of in the symplast pathway, we have to learn about the plasmodesmata, and in the vacuolar pathway we need to learn about the vacuoles, that how water moves through the vacuole by crossing both the plasma membrane and tonoplast. Tonoplast is basically the sap vacuole, and the membrane of that vacuole is called as the tonoplast. This is basically the vacuolar membrane, and that vacuolar membrane is called as tonoplast. This was all about it. These are the main topics that I have described to you. If there is any confusion, please do let me know, and get ready for the test which gonna held on Wednesday. I will catch you in another lecture. Allah Hafiz.